Let me
be
share
giving
the-
you the warning now.
Okay, I see it.
Thank you.
Okay, great. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Nanette, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Present.
Janae McDonald,
Present.
Tanya Butler Perez,
Present.
Gladys Bell Garcia Figueroa,
Present.
Phil Johnson, and Betty Esposito.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nanette. We're gonna start out our meeting by welcoming our two newest trustees. Welcome, Trustee Butler Perez, and welcome to our new student trustee, Trustee Garcia Figueroa. So thank you and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. I'm also
Thank
looking
you.
forward to working with you all.
Small
So,
note, Madam Chair, and for the committee, I have had a chance to sit and have lunch with both Trustee Butler Perez and Trustee Garcia Figueroa, giving them a little bit of the landscape. Looking forward to having them meet all of you in person. I know they're very excited about that at the retreat in September. We also are going to do a story, so we'll be sure that we get their bios out to the community and also to our college. So do stay tuned for that piece as well. And for both Tonya and Glari's bed, just know some of the other faces you see on there are cabinet members. So essentially our vice presidents, assistant vice presidents. We also have our innovation fellow with us, Dr. Vanessa Hill. So the other individuals that you tend to see on these committee meetings and the board meetings, again, are our senior administrators here at the college.
Thank you. Now we're going to go into our Innovation Fellowship update with Dr. Vanessa Hill.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You can turn. Okay. So I have spent the last year working on a massive project to redesign our developmental math. And so this is my, it just came to an end, and this is my update on just hitting on some of the highlights that happened during this past year. You can turn. A backdrop of all of the work that we've done is really about equity. And I think that that's the thing that we always have to keep in mind as we are looking at to innovate anything. We have to make sure that we have equitable practices. Our goal is to improve persistence, retention, time to enter pathways, really to have those students take and pass a college level math in their first year. It makes all the difference in the world, up to a 40% higher graduation rate. So that is such a key factor for it. So that's a focus. And then, like I said, graduation rates. Anything that we do, we're doing it and it's going to benefit all of our students. But our goal really is to close that gap with our students of color who have lagged behind in both retention and graduation and their college level math credentials. So we really want to focus on making this a more equitable institution by making sure that all of our students can be successful. Next slide. Well, again, just some of the highlights. There's a lot that's happened in this last year. But I started off last summer with extensive research. So I really wanted to see what are those best practices. And not only academically, I read a lot of research papers, but also what colleges have done that they've been successful. So I engaged community colleges, both in state and out of state. I've talked to folks as far away as Oregon. We met with some folks in California and Florida. So Zoom has been my friend in that respect, because I've gotten to speak to a lot of folks and looked at their curriculum that I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I brought all those best practices together, and then from within our college, surveying the faculty. So every single faculty, full and part-time, got a survey from me asking, what exactly are those key math concepts that students in your program need to be successful? And that's how we started to build out the pathways. So we took that information and analyzed it. I also was in contact with Springfield Public Schools math faculty. We looked at software packages that we were going to use to support our students. And that, again, we wanted something that was vetted already, I didn't want anything that's, just newly off the market. And it has a proven track record. So we wind up going with this software system from McGraw-Hill that's called Alex. And not only are we using it for our classes, but we also switched to our Alex, it's called PPL. It's the placement exam. And so we're using that same software package for placement as well as for these courses. And I also had standing meetings with the president as well as stakeholders all over campus. So lots of meetings to make sure that everybody was on the same page. Next slide. And then again, back one. And then again, those key concepts were super important. So I identified them. And then we created these 4 1-credit modular courses that can be completed in 1 semester if the student is capable of doing it. But not only the 4 1-credit, like if some students will have to go through the whole sequence, but for those who didn't, like that's where that whole surveying the faculty came in as well. We really tried to break up these modules and link them to specific disciplines. So if you're general studies and you need a statistics or liberal arts math, if you test into developmental, you only have to take that first module. And we built it with those key concepts that will help them be successful in statistics and liberal arts math. And we did that for each one. So there's all these pathways that are built. Addressing facility and technology needs, that's ongoing. We always want more technology, but that's, I'm always asking somebody, do you have money to fund this for me? So that's just not going anywhere. In April, we were fully approved by the curriculum committee. So all these courses are on the books and we will be live next Tuesday. I've done a lot of trainings with advising, which again is an ongoing process because it's a brand new system. So I will be meeting with folks as much as they need me to. I made videos that are posted that they can go through. I made these advising forms that went out to every advisor on campus, both professional and faculty advisors, that they have like a form in their hand that they can refer to. But I still take a lot of emails, which is totally fine with me, to make sure that folks are comfortable till they get used to it. And then professional development. We met with the math department a couple of times this summer, and we wrote all that curriculum. We wrote it into our own system. So we have all this and it's live, and anybody who's teaching with us can just go in there and take it. And I had booklets printed up for each module. So the folks who are face-to-face, which I'm super excited that I'm face-to-face teaching some of these courses next week, they'll have a hard copy in their hand. And anybody, like I said, anybody who wants to use this, they absolutely can use it. And the math department is going to try and stay on the same page, especially as we're starting out, to make sure that we have good tools to measure and we can collect some good data. All right, next. And so we're live. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but we are live. And we're going to be monitoring the new classes to see if the students are getting through. And not only that, but we want to know, are we preparing them for the next level? So when they get into college level, after going through the system, are they being successful? And if not, we need to go back and revamp what we did and try and tweak things around to make sure that we didn't do too much in there, we didn't do too little in there. So it's really about data collection is going to be super important. And then all that curriculum that we built, so we own it, right? We wrote our own questions, we did all this work. The next logical step is to be able to transfer all this material into an open resource platform. And then there's no cost associated with it. And we can make it available for Springfield Public Schools, which the teachers did seem open to the fact that using this, like after they pass their MCAS. So using this as a math before they go to college. So maybe they're, senior year. And then also adult basic education. I've been working with those folks and I'd like to give them this curriculum, and anybody else who wants it, I'm happy to give it to them. And that is a whole nother animal to build. So that's what's on our horizon. We're not there yet. We have the workbooks that folks can have, but really to build it out into a platform, because my Open Math has a homework system and students will be able to go in there and it'll grade it for them. So it'll be a really good tool for teachers to have in their arsenal. So that is a real quick spiel of what I did. And do we have any questions for me?
Thank you, Dr. Hill.
Let me offer a little bit of context and gratitude, everyone. So again, I know we have a couple of committee members who are coming in cold to this conversation. So again, to really put a fine point on this, a year ago, if you were an STCC student, state policy requires us, everyone requires us to assess reading, writing, and mathematics. We are an open admissions institution, but there's still state policy that says you have to assess it. And often the assessment would push students into what was called remedial education or developmental reading, developmental math. But we had the ability to control what that tip over into was. If you think about this, a associate's degree at STCC is about 60 credits. Again, pre-reform, you might have to take up to 9 or 10 credits beyond that in developmental math. So this is a classic example, by the way. Lots of people want to talk about equity and anti-racism. This is a signature shining example right here, brought to you by the leadership of Dr. Vanessa Hill. We essentially bought her out, trustees, right, from her teaching load for the year. She's been full-time with us for 15 years, and she did nothing but focus on this initiative. And so where we stand today, from 9 or 10 credits, the maximum you would take as a student who was assessed, the maximum you take is 4 credits, and you could potentially take as little as 1 credit. By the way, we have some exceptions. If you have a high school GPA recently of 2.7 or better, you don't have to deal with this at all. And that's new policy from the state as well. But again, what Vanessa has really willed into existence is an entirely new approach to how we manage the assessment, or should I say the post-assessment piece, to help students. Because again, imagine our average age student is 26, they're a little rusty with algebra. Who wants to have to contend with trying to take what feels like a high stakes exam on the fundamentals of algebraic equations? But again, we have a new model, a new system. And Vanessa, I just want to say with this audience here, I'm so grateful. You have absolutely poured your soul into this and you have willed forward a new system. We are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I'm really impressed with this. I'm really excited about it. Owning a curriculum, how we'll be able to share it and put it out there. And my hope is that because we know the history of, unfortunately, some of our students not coming in as prepared as we'd like them to be, and that if we're sharing this with the public school system and they can start to incorporate it, we'll start to see the reduction in the need for something like this. You know, it'll probably take many years and long after I'm gone, but just really doing that work. So thank you. I just want to open it up one more time for if there's any questions before we move on to the next segment.
I have a question. I'm not sure it's a question. Dr. Vanessa, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your last name?
Hill?
Okay, y'all, I got a Southern accent, so if you can't understand what I'm saying, let me know. Anyway, I think this is great. What you all don't understand, I worked at another community college before, and that was always, and I was something totally different. But anyway, I was always wondering because the test that they gave it to their staff, and none of us. So that was a major problem to me. And everybody in the group that took the test had a degree or either post degree. The other thing I want to say is that you've done all this design, and I understand about sharing and all, but we want to make sure that this is known as STCC's program. You got me? I don't know how you do it in education, but some kind of way we need to trademark because it looks like a real good program. Because I've been in schools, one of the things I have with community colleges, I think they're great all the way around. When kids go to school 7 or 8 years, you don't give them 5 years to graduate with the grants. And after that, you got to find your money. And they don't understand that. So I think this is really wonderful. It's just my opinion. I'm brand new, y'all, doing the best I can.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to the enrollment perspective.
Hello and good evening. Darcy Kemp, Vice President of Student Affairs. Welcome to our new trustees. I'm going to kick off our enrollment management perspective this evening. I'm going to highlight registration and recruitment and show our daily enrollment report, headcount and registered credits, our first-year students in our Springfield schools, as well as where we are point in time for our COVID-19 vaccination policy compliance. Then I'll turn it over to Dr. DeBurley, who will talk about enrollments by school, and Dr. Butler will close us out with current marketing initiatives. Next slide, please. And one more. Thank you. So this may look familiar to some of you. This is a snapshot of our daily enrollment report from Tableau in the sort of pink and white shaded area. This is registration day 132. So it's a point in time look at where we're at now heading into fall semester. And then in the red box along the left side, that's where we were on day 132 and heading into fall of 2020, as well as fall of 2021. So you can see that on day 32, heading into fall 21, so last year, we were down 5.1% in total headcount and down 8.8% in registered credits when compared to fall 2020. And as we approach this fall, we're down about 2.1% in total headcount and 1.8% in registered credits when we compare against last year. So we've been ebbing and flowing all summer. So we've been a little up, we've been a little down, and the academic affairs and student affairs teams have collaborated intensely this summer, along with support from marketing, to ensure that we're putting our best foot forward for both in recruitment and registration. We've done a number of events, both on campus and virtually. So we've had enrollment days. We've had new student orientation on campus for the first time in 2 years. So really trying to do a lot to meet the needs of the students. And it's important to note that everything that we do, we offer in an in-person and a virtual option so that we can make sure that we're meeting the students' needs of how they want to interact and engage with us from the recruitment and registration perspective. Next slide, please. So this is the overall historical perspective of headcount and registered credits. And I just want to note that there's an asterisk in the 22 FA. So this is a point in time snapshot comparison. So it's not really apples to apples. But what I'd like to draw your attention to is the lower right corner. That's where we're at for headcount, 3,327 students, and registered credits, 32,733 students. So if you look as far back as fall of 2017, again, that's final data, but you can see it's about a 2,000 difference in headcount and a 20,000 difference count in registered credits. What you'll note is that even though fall 1 and fall registrations have closed as far as sections, we are able to work with, or applications, I mean, not registrations, we are able to continue to work with new and continuing students for fall 2. So we're really hopeful that as we make it through add drop, again, we're going to continue to work with students and ebb and flow, hopefully come above last year. That's our goal, is to be kind of on par, a little bit better with where we landed in enrollment, and academic affairs and student affairs will continue to push that fall 2 semester for students as well. So a couple different strategies. We'll take a look at students who need a particular course for their major or their program. We'll encourage them to enroll for that. If a student's between 6 and 9 credits and they seem to be doing well, we'll encourage them to maybe add on another course that they might need. So again, continuously looking at fall semester and knowing that we still have that opportunity for fall 2. Next slide, please. So this is a point in time snapshot of our first year students by Springfield High School. So at the top, you'll see for this point in time snapshot, we're at 864 total students in this category of first-time, first-year students. And the top sending schools are projected based on total accepted applications. So you can see that our top 5 schools tend to stay the same for our first-time, first-year students. We'll continue again to update this and then compare apples to apples when the final freeze numbers are in to see just how we're trending for each school, and then we'll strategize around engagement and support for each of the institutions to try to continue to positively influence enrollment. Next slide, please. This last slide has a little bit of data on it, but it has a lot of meaning. This represents the highest level of collaboration I think I've ever seen in the higher education space when it comes to ensuring that we are doing everything we possibly can to ensure our students are compliant with the policy, registered for the courses that they're interested in being in, and in the modalities that they're interested in. So you can see our compliance rates were trending higher than we were at this point for spring semester. So spring was a pretty heavy lift for us to work collaboratively to ensure that students were compliant with the policy. We did see that very few students were impacted as a result of the policy compliance. So we didn't end up needing to deregister too many students. And that is because of the efforts of the advisors and the faculty and the deans really communicating almost on a daily basis and outreaching one by one to the students to make a change in their course schedule or to ensure that they have their documentation uploaded or their request for reasonable accommodation on file. So really proud of the efforts of everyone at the institution who has their hands in working with students on this, and really happy to see the results as well. And I'll turn it over to Dr. DeBurley.
Darcy, let me just go back one step and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I have a question.
And even if you can just explain again the acronym, Darcy, on the left-hand side of our schools, our 3 schools, and what those acronyms stand for.
Yes, I sure can. So LAPS is the Liberal and Professional Studies. SHIPS is the School of Health and Patient Simulation, and STEM is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And those are the 3 schools that are represented in our degree-bearing programs.
Thank you. One of the questions I had, you kind of answered it. I was kind of wanted to know what were some of the gaps, if any. It seems like we're on the right track, and I know the numbers are changing daily. We were on a great track, I think, about 2 weeks ago when I met with Dr. Cook. And then I had another question about, I think, the slide before that. Those numbers for commerce, those are like, all those numbers are students who have graduated high school and are full-time or enrolled at STIC. It's not including any dual enrollment participation or anything like that at High School of Commerce, right?
That's correct. That's how we define our first-time, first-year students.
Oh.
And Darcy, I had a quick question too. So it seems that the percentage decrease year over year is happening more with our new students. The percentage is probably twice as our continuing. Any, research or understanding of why that has happened this past year? Can you give us any reasons to that? We knew it was coming, but the percentage increase just seems to be a little bit higher than we thought.
Yeah, we did know it was coming, and will continue to come. Fewer students in the traditional first-time, first-year age group, entering the higher education and the post-secondary education space. So many institutions competing for fewer students at their institution. So really important for us to continue to collaborate with academic affairs and marketing on our value proposition. What is it that we offer to students and why is that of benefit? And you'll hear from Dr. Butler later in this presentation some strategies that we have just implemented to address very specifically targeted audiences to share our story and to share what opportunities are available for that first-time, first-year group. I do want to note as well, if you look at that Springfield FTF by Springfield High School, just some context, if we can move to that slide. There's 864 students at the time of this this reporting. Just remember that's out of 3,327 students from a headcount perspective. So lots of opportunities for us to engage with a variety of different student types and meet their needs. We'll certainly continue to be on site for enrollment days for each of the Springfield schools. Some of our strategies are actually going to take our team to the schools. So in the fall, we will come and we will help with applications. Then in the winter, we'll send a team in to help with FAFSAs. Then in the spring, we'll send a team in to help with placement and testing. And then we'll send a team to help out and invite in for academic advising. So really making sure, again, that we are going to the schools and also inviting them to us.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is there any information, or do we know, or if we have students that sometimes will go to a four-year institution or go somewhere else, it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and then they end up with us? Because I'm just wondering how we can play up the affordability, of STIC, and what that really means, and the importance of not going and thinking what you have to traditionally do when you end up back at STIC, so I'm just wondering if we have any information on that, so.
Yeah, we definitely work with institutional research to pull various student types and information through the clearinghouse. And one of the things that we just did was refresh our Stop Out website and our Stop Out campaign. So if at any point somebody has left us and has not gone to another institution, we're trying to recapture those students. We've also, you may recall, we've increased our pool of continuing registered students as well. So we used to pull 1 or 2 semesters. So if you were here last semester, we're going to try to get you back. Now we're pulling 5 to 6 previous semesters worth of data, scrubbing that with the clearinghouse to make sure that we're only reaching out to students who this might be an opportunity for, and then redirecting them to our Stop Out website where they can see that we have, robust resources and services to be able to help them get back into STCC. And Dr. Butler will share some marketing strategies around affordability as well.
Thank you. Any other questions on this section before we move on? Okay.
Okay, thank you. This is Jerry DeBurley here. I do want to point out to you that this slide number 7 has been updated so that the slide that you may have received in an earlier package was incorrect. And so we've made the corrections on the slide we're showing you here. What we've got here for you is just to show you, these are students' headcount enrolled in the 3 different schools. So you can see approximately how many students each school is serving. I do want to note that undeclared students are not included. So consequently, one of the totals that we saw in an earlier headcount had a difference for 821 of another 290 students. Those are undeclared, and consequently, they haven't been entered into any particular school. So that is the difference. And you can see just on the size of activity that the School of Liberal and Professional Studies houses the most students. And then we have the School of STEM, followed by SHIPS, and SHIPS, of course, has all the health programs. It has 13 health programs, 12 of which are actually all of which are accredited, and it also has a fire science program that does not contain any full-time faculty. But I just wanted you to see where we were on just the amount of activity, and I can talk a little bit about the numbers of faculty. STEM has by and large the largest number of faculty with 48 full-time faculty. SHIPS has approximately 30, well, it has 3 vacancies right now. So it has about 39 faculty, and LAPS has 31 full-time. Those are full-time faculty. We also hire an extraordinary amount of adjuncts to get our courses on and delivered. Any questions about that particular slide? Okay, thanks, Nanette. To the next slide then. So the next slide, what we've got here is a selection of the higher enrolled programs for you to see just on activity. And on the right, you see which school that's attached to. Now, in some cases, let me start with general studies. I've chosen one particular program that has the highest numbers of students. Again, you see at the time, again, this is a slice from last week. So again, things are changing every day. But we had 756 students enrolled in the particular associate's degree program there. Business was the next number. That's 2 programs. We have a transfer program, and we have a business program, which is not part of the mass transfer. Essentially very close in the same curriculum. But what I've noted there is you could see the numbers of students that have registered for a transfer program as opposed to students who are not. Both of those programs, I put 2 programs in because we also offer the transfer and the business program as fully online. But it gives you an idea of what's been happening there. And that this is compared to last year, that we're pretty stable in the numbers there compared to last year. The engineering science transfer programs, there's a total of 6 programs in there, but what I've provided you, and I've given you the total for all 6 programs, but under the degrees and certificates, I've pulled out the 3 programs that have the highest numbers of enrollment in each one. So we have the biology, computer science, and engineering. Those are all transfer programs. And you can see the activity that's there. It's up 9% from last year. And may I say there was a lot of work to get that, because those numbers in engineering and science transfer were way, way down at the beginning of the summer. So kudos to all the work that Darcy has explained has been going on for the last few months. In nursing, as you see, we have suffered a decline. We have seen a lot of attrition in the first year nurses from last year. The nursing program has been working to bring some of those first year nurses back and allowed space for them. We've also had some serious attrition in faculty resigning. So we have some challenges there that we're working on overcoming. There's a big discussion on what we can do. With that, the community college, not just the community colleges, everyone is suffering in difficulty in staffing faculty nursing, because our salaries cannot compete with what nurses are getting now, particularly in this post-COVID traveling. The nursing salaries are huge. Insofar as what's happened with the nurses, given the decline in student numbers, it seems that we're still, in many of the cases of our nursing students, are having difficulties with childcare, personal issues. A number of them, because they can make so much money, are finding that even though they need to complete their nursing degrees, they need to be working. And since our nursing program is a full-time program, that's a challenge for them. So we are looking to provide as much support as we can. And of course, we have another week to go, but insofar as nursing is going, we're paying a lot of attention to that. Our health science program, which is really only a few years old, is doing very, very well. As you can see, we have 151 students enrolled in that program. And that is one of the options that we looked at as to providing initial sort of health education for students, and to provide them a sort of taste in a number of areas in the health sciences to see what directions they could go in, and then go ahead and perhaps focus on one particular area and provide some tracks to that. And that was the plan sort of in the original design, and that seems to be working very well, as opposed to having students go into sort of a pre-health program that students went into limbo with and didn't receive much direction. In the computer information technology, we have 5 programs there. I've given you the overall total for the 5 programs, but I've also provided you with the cybersecurity AS and the programmer, because those are the 2 programs that have the highest enrollments in there. Cybersecurity is a big area. We've been working a lot. Mary Kastlukas, in our Chief Information Officer, has been working with the School of STEM and with our Computer Information Technology Department in particular, looking at work that we're going to be doing on a cyber range, et cetera. And that also will provide a lot of opportunities for our students, both in internships and employment opportunities. Criminal justice, again, 3 programs. I've given you the subsets there. Criminal justice has taken a huge hit all over. A lot of folks are not looking to enter into the criminal justice fields right now. particular declines in corrections, etc. So one of the things we're looking at is where we can go as far as attracting more students, perhaps more in criminal analytics in some kind, and some social justice issues and sort of psychology, to see if we can sort of sustain or redirect some of that, given the general decline in criminal justice enrollment across the country. MET is stable, mechanical engineering technology. You've got sort of stable programs there. Our teacher ed programs, we have 4 programs, but in particular, our early childhood education programs are particularly robust, especially in the certificate. That is the result of considerable funding from the state, which enables the students basically to take those programs for free. And that has pulled in a number of students. And our human services, social work area, the associates there has had a very, very good increase in activity. So those are the things that are going as far as the highest enrolled programs. We do have, and I'll be bringing those to the internal, external in subsequent presentations. We do have worrisome programs. We have a number of programs. We have 5 programs that have fewer than 19 students enrolled. We have another 5 programs that have 20 to 30 students enrolled, so and so on. So those are programs that we'll need to be considering and looking at as to what our mission is, what we can do, the numbers of boutique programs that we have with very small enrollments, and how we can manage that given our budgetary and our fiscal implications as we go forth. That's what I have for you. Do you have any questions?
Let me give a little context as trustees are thinking about questions. Just a couple of notes. Thank you, Jerry and Darcy, for the deep dive. What I would say to the committee, a few takeaways. One is note how we share not just the head count, but the credits. The average STCC student is a part-time student. So that's why the credits really matter. They matter for those fees and therefore towards our bottom line. And the average student takes about 10 credits. So that's why we always look both at how many students we have, but also the credits that follow them. Obviously, we also are doing a very deep dive. What you see here is not just the 10 largest, but you see this really is a cross-section of our 3 schools. You see the larger schools for liberal and professional studies, larger programs for our School of Health, larger programs for our School of STEM. So it really gives you the cross-section of those programs. And there's just so much attention paid to the enrollment pieces in it. And as our Vice President of Academic Affairs noted, do we have enough enrollment so faculty have teaching loads? That's also been a long-standing conversation that Dr. DeBurley has been having with her school deans to make sure that we are making load for our faculty. So lots of conversations that certainly bear for your consideration here in internal, external. But again, happy to turn it back and see what questions people may have.
Well, 2 questions. For the nursing, and as far as, retention of the instructors, is that partly and I noticed you talked about the pay, and I'm guessing that's also partly dictated by how those positions or the pay is bargained, right? So that's some of that is kind of out of our control, right?
Yes, we have some flexibility, but again, where we're starting at such a low level because of what has been bargained, that even that is quite a challenge. So yes, but you're spot on what the challenges are with the pay.
Okay, and then the other question, for example, with criminal justice and thinking about changing that to criminal analytics or something else, how does that work with the curriculum committee? Or does that have any impact, considering that the curriculum committee controls career? Because I just can't help but think about some of those other programs that you're talking about,
right,
that we're going to have to review later on. And how does that work with the curriculum?
Yes, and you're right, Trustee McDonald. That whole process is even renaming, rebranding, rethinking, adding courses, taking courses away. All of that is presented to the curriculum committee as a process. So we have that process, and part of it also will be it's a discussion with faculty. Faculty have to faculty and the deans have to want to put it forward. And we look at the research of what else is happening, what we're doing, and how we can better juggle. But the bottom line is, and going back to what Dr. Cook said, in some of our programs, if we don't change in some cases, then we will not, we have faculty now that are not making workload as it is. And this is a phenomenon that not just STIC is experiencing. A number of our colleague community colleges are having difficulty making workload for a number of their faculty.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before we move forward? Okay. Oh, yes, you're muted, Trustee Esposito.
There we go. Okay. With regards to the ones that we're not seeing on here, are we already taking a look at future viability?
Yes.
The budget?
Yeah, I've not already, all the time.
I know. So there's about how many? Did you say 5?
Well, we have 5 programs that have fewer than 19 students enrolled. We have 5 programs that have fewer than 30 students enrolled, for example. And even on some of the programs that have sort of a total of higher students, when you break it down and you actually look at the enrollment in the associate's degree or the certificate program, right, then those enrollments are pretty low. So part of those discussions with those is the deans discussing it with faculty, looking to see where we can amalgamate, where can we perhaps reduce, sort of narrow down the options. There's been very little reduction overall in programs offered at our college since the heydays of 7,000 students. Programs were not discontinued. And consequently, this is what the result of that is now in some cases. We have challenges. I mean, we have, our health programs are expensive. They need a lot of equipment. They're accredited. So there's ratios on how many faculty to students have. There's clinical placements, but it's very much part of our mission. So there's the tension there of how much it costs us to deliver a program versus what our own commitments are as an institution versus sustainability.
In a comparison to other community colleges in our area, any idea where we're falling? I mean, does anyone close in the area like Greenfield, Holyoke, Pittsfield, that's what all I can think of is, do they have criminal justice? Are they seeing it down or nursing?
Yeah, they're different versions of things. In nursing, the challenges are the community colleges with nursing are all having the same challenges vis-a-vis the salaries. Okay. And the same thing with personal issues. Now, of course, as you know, with an accredited program, particularly nursing, that kind of attrition is scary because when you have those kinds of declines in enrollments, we really want to make sure that the students that we do have, all right, that we don't lose the students that we do have because of the requirement for accreditation of 80% completion rates, right? 80% of the students passing the exams. So there is a lot of work going on in nursing with that. But it's an interesting phenomenon given the demand for nursing across the country and in our area and how many nursing jobs there are and how many health profession jobs there are. So this is not about the pay for the job itself. It's for us in being able to provide the clinical experiences and the faculty that we need and be able to pay them. At the same time, that pay rate is anomalous within the collective bargaining. And in the collective bargaining agreements, all right, the pay structures are uniform across the grid. So we have to also manage that. It's a challenge.
Thank you.
I would say for the trustees, these are incredibly healthy conversations. We've obviously had a lot of conversation about program, mission, cost over the last 2 years in particular. Nursing is a good one. And I think because both internal to the college and external, people know STIC is very proud of our nursing program and we are very supportive of it. Here's some more math. For a nursing program that has, as you see, about 160 students registered right now, that has had at times closer to 200 students, we have 15 full-time faculty, 15 full-time faculty just for a program like that. And to the question from Trustee-elect Exposito, all 4 of the Western Mass community colleges have nursing programs. No one is nearly as large as ours. And in particular, because no one else can afford 15 full-time nursing faculty. So the consideration from us is when you lose that much money on a nursing program, it's very different with the enrollment at about 4,000 students than as noted 10 years ago when we had 7,000 students. So the ability to preserve the School of Health and just how significant in this case we know nursing graduates are is going to be part of the type of planning and sustainability we'll have to think about going forward.
All right, thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to begin with some departmental updates in marketing and provide a high-level overview of our enrollment management marketing efforts done in partnership. Jerry and Darcy have both been great partners as we collaborate in this area. So by way of updates, we went out in May with an RFP for an agency of record to help us partner on developing strategy, marketing strategy, brand development, creative collaboration, and a host of other services that are really going to help us drive and increase our targets as it relates to enrollment management. So we are winding down that process. We have selected a company and we're finalizing the contract details right now. So I'll be able to announce that at our next meeting. We also have a strategic marketing plan, a 3-year plan. We have launched year 2 of that plan and our efforts are underway there. So I also wanted to give you that heads up. And what you'll see, a lot of the collateral that you see tonight is a part of the implementation of that plan. Next, I'm going to give you an update on our staffing. We are currently searching. We launched the search in early July for a new director of marketing and communications. And we are making great progress in that search. And we are at a place where we have identified some very high talented and high quality individuals to campus for interviews. So stay tuned. We hope to wind down that search in the next couple weeks. We're also looking for a digital and social media manager. We just launched that search and we're starting some interviews coming up, and that role is really going to help us with our target marketing, expanding our digital footprint. So excited to hire someone into that role. And then we're also we will be searching for a part-time WTCC station manager, someone who can come in and provide some additional administrative oversight, as this is a department of the college and we are looking to just sort of help be better coordinated with our messaging and think about how we can bring WTCC into certainly more of our enrollment marketing efforts, but marketing in general. So in terms of our print campaigns, digital and social media, I will be just giving you an overview and showing you some examples of our traditional marketing tools, print postcards or what we call snail mail. They're mailers, they go out to households in the area. We partner with an agency who gives us data, rich data. We use that household demographic data to do some targeted outreach and marketing through some of the print materials you'll see. So why don't we go to our next slide and take a look at our first. So this is a sample of how we message affordability. So this is an example of a postcard that went out to households basically saying that we're the best value in town, that we provide a quality education that position, a quality and affordable education that positions students for career or to go on to further college. As you can see from the messaging, I know it's kind of small here, but in your packets, or if you zoom in, you'll see that we really emphasize messages of affordability, but we also talk about transfer. So if you start here and you finish elsewhere, you'll finish with less debt. So one thing about these campaigns is they're done in collaboration with others on campus. So, they would partner with our new admissions dean, Samantha Ford, and others to develop content. So it really is a true partnership as we work through these efforts. The next slide. So this is another example of how we target market. Here we are targeting males of color. This was, again, part of our marketing plan, strategic marketing plan. We have a MILE program, very successful program on campus, the Male Initiative for Leadership and Education under Student Affairs. And Miguel Maria is the director over there, and he was a partner on content development. And we're, as you can see, using terms like brotherhood. And this is a tool that is not only a recruitment tool, but we're talking about a program that also lends itself to its improving retention. So this is a sample of a combined piece of collateral that really promotes recruitment and retention. Next slide, please. And so here is an example where we partner with academic affairs down to the program level. As you've heard, we're running behind, we're down in our criminal justice program with registration. So working with the dean, working with academic affairs, we developed some messaging that targets women for criminal justice opportunities. It's a group that is underrepresented in the criminal justice field. And part of our marketing plan and strategy, we saw this as an opportunity to really go after and use messaging that would appeal to women's students to really try to increase enrollment there. So what you see on these, I want to call your attention to the QR code that's there in the little quote box. That helps us to be able to track how we're doing, how we're performing with these. So what we track is when a student scans that code, we're able, and it drives them to our website, we're able to see the number of basically hits we get on our website from students who, we call that an open rate when they scan this QR code. So they used the postcard, they scanned it, they went to our website, and we saw for this particular campaign, maybe about a week ago, we got some data that said we had 25 students open, 25 residents of the community that we sent this out to open, and the postcard by scanning it and going to the college's website. The normal average standard rate is 10 to 15. So we outpaced the normal rate with this campaign. So it does say that we were sort of spot on. So now we're going to track this to, will these students enroll? So we're looking at ways to continue to track and monitor and the outcomes in relation to our programs. Next slide, please. Here is sort of a sample of what our digital and social media efforts are, and to give you some insights. I know this is sort of I'm going to just walk you through it so you can just see how to read it. So all the way to the left, that 169,000 number is the number of impressions. So basically that means the number of times our advertisement showed up on the screen, on Facebook or on Instagram. The next column over tells you what the cost was this is for the month of July, taking a step back. This is for the month of July. This is what we call our ad buy. And so we spent slightly over $2,000 in the month of July for 169,000 impressions. The CPM, which is the $13.82, is really cost per 1,000 impressions. So that's what it means. What's the average cost per 1,000 impressions? The next line over is the number of clicks. That's an important one. How many times people engage the content? And then if you go down, that 0.81 is really the most important benchmark for us because it's click-through rate. So not only did they see the ad, they saw STCC come up when they were on Facebook or on Instagram, but they also saw, clicked on and engaged with the content. So the click-through rate for us was 0.81 and the industry standard was 0.70. So we are on par, slightly above the industry standard for Facebook in terms of how we performed in the month of July. And I'll just quickly take you to the next slide, which is YouTube, which we're really happy with these results. With YouTube, similar impressions, the number of times our ad was viewed on the platform. But if you go over how many times the ad showed up, was it 68,000? 36,000 was the number of views. But if you go look at the view rate, that's 52.61% against an industry standard of 20 to 25%. So we doubled the industry standard when we look at how we performed on YouTube. So that really tells us something about our market, tells us that this is a really good place for us, where our potential and prospective and current students go, those who engage the college. So we're in the process now, we're told video is king right now in terms of the world of marketing. So we are investing and leveraging our in-house as well as our partnerships to create more of the stories so that people are aware of the great services that we offer, the great education and the great support services that we offer at the college. And then, I'll close out just by saying that there are other forms of media and marketing that we use, radio, billboards, print ads that we have in area high schools, as well as at sporting venues. You see us all over town. So we are really looking forward to a new marketing director starting within the next month, and we'll be able to do more in this area. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
All right, looks like we don't have any questions. Thank you. Great to see the targeting on affordability. All right, moving forward to the strategic planning outlook.
So let me help tee this up for the committee. So I asked both Trustee Sposito, who is your liaison to the Strategic Planning Task Force, as well as Dr. Butler, to just give a bit of a verbal on where we are. We've used the summer as a bit of a bridge. We have full-time faculty coming back this week to their roles. And so we're really starting to pick things back up. But again, wanted to just be sure we had the engagement with this committee. So Betty, I know you talked with Shay earlier. If you don't mind helping share your outlook on how we're doing with strategic planning, that would be great.
Sure. The task force, they're wrapping up their summer work at this point in time. They did extensive research and education process throughout the summer. There were quite a few meetings. This work that's been started is now going to go into the fall. Right into the fall, like the 31st of August, the Campus Works team will be on site this week, Thursday, and they're going to be meeting with several of the stakeholders across our college community. We're having a luncheon on Wednesday, and they are going to be doing presentations to the members of the groups. The consultants, in addition, will complete the trend in higher education workshop during the college-wide professional day, which I believe is the first. Is that right, Dr. Butler?
Yes.
The first?
Yes. Mhm.
And discussing at that time trends in higher education and identifying themes related to enrollment, which we've been talking about, student success, technology, and accountability. And I've enjoyed it. I mean, talk about, they're really digging in deep. And so it'll be really interesting to see the outcome when everything is put together. But it's really interesting. So, Dr. Butler?
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Esposito, for the overview. You did a phenomenal job. The only thing I would add is that as we move into the fall, we're looking forward to the student experience workshop, which is an interactive session with a representative audience from the college that's designed to help develop the future definition of what a student's experience at STIC is, what we hope it will be like. And students will be very involved in that. We're also going to be holding a SWOT analysis this fall. We'll be looking for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. There'll be some focus groups. There'll be something called the Future Summit, which you've already heard a little bit about. But lastly, I just want to call your attention to really us looking forward, the Campus Works team, the Strategic Planning Task Force, to working with the board on facilitating the mission and vision reaffirmation workshop that they presented to the board would be forthcoming in one of the earlier meetings. So stay tuned for that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, moving on to our president's perspective, unless we have questions or comments.
Let me again wrap up that last section. So obviously, again, for our new trustees, you and the full board, everyone will vote to approve a strategic plan that is crafted as described, likely next spring. Again, it's good with you as the policy body to put your stamp of approval on our strategic plan. Again, we are a couple years out of date now. Our last strategic plan sunsetted in 2020. We knew that because we had accreditation, which also gave us a chance to be reflective on what's ahead. And with your endorsement, we then put that in front of the Board of Higher Education, which will also approve and endorse our strategic plan. So there are a couple of steps in 2023 that we'll attend to. Let me just pause and say, you can see, trustees, how fortunate I am to work with the kind of talent that you see on display tonight. Incredibly thorough, not just presentations from our 3 vice presidents and members of our cabinet, but capacity for the work. There is a lot of intentionality and detail that this group really works through to really help continue to move this college forward. So again, so thankful, Darcy, Shay, Jerry, for your outlook and the work underneath all that tonight. Thank you. A few things. One, trustees, you'll see essentially a welcome email from me to the campus that I sent out earlier this afternoon. It gives you a little bit of outlook on some of these areas. So I'll try to not dwell overly on some of the detail that I've shared in that email. But again, this is always a very exciting time in an academic calendar. So really looking forward to that energy and excitement with students coming back. And again, we'll see what coming back means in 2022. A few things to point out. We will be celebrating our 55th anniversary as a college. There is a gala and a Resilience Awards ceremony. Nanette Flores will be sure to send you the link to that. And again, October 6th, if you are already looking at calendars, it's downtown at the Marriott. We're very, very excited to be hosting that. And again, looking forward to building some momentum and excitement with that gathering. You'll also see, by way of context, I put a little bit of reading in your packet. Again, we'll try not to overwhelm you with the academic nature of the work, but wanted you to see a very current article in the Chronicle of Higher Ed, a very mainstream journal in our line of work. And the title says it all, The Shrinking of Higher Education. You saw it on display with our presentation and our data. The idea that colleges and universities will just grow their way through the latest challenge may be more elusive. So I want you to definitely come away knowing what is the norm, not just at STCC, but across community colleges and of course, all of public higher education in general. So I invite you to take a read of that, but growth will be elusive is really one of the key takeaways. As much as we need to focus, by the way, on our affordability, our access, and certainly health and STEM programs that are unique at a college like Stick. We certainly have our work cut out for us to try to put a floor under this enrollment trend. So we're going to be vigilant about this all year and talking with you more about that. As far as the details, so in terms of COVID operations, again, we are really trying to get ourselves back to what I guess I've taken to calling with our leadership team a hybrid footing. We have a number of our employees who are working some portion of the week in telework. And for us, it is particularly productive and constructive for them to do that. So we are not, if you will, forcing all of our employees to come back 100% when we know there are ways for them to meet students where they are, which is they want to chat, they want to work online, they want to do some of those virtual pieces that have been to our advantage. So we have a hybrid footing. But as far as what we've offered, we have offered an incredible array of possibilities for students. They will ultimately tell us what they needed. Did they need online? Did they need hybrid? Did they need in-person classes? We'll do a deep dive at this committee meeting later in November when we have final enrollment for the year and what that'll look like. As far as governance, again, thank you to trustees. In June, you gave us a lot of clarity. You voted and endorsed a new model. It includes what's called the Shared Governance Council. I'll be launching that and inviting those representatives in the month of September. And again, looking forward to building through a recommendation process, the potential to change both policies that I would put in front of you, but also some of our practices and protocols for how we operate as an institution. And again, we're going to talk a lot more about that. I know for my conversations with our board chair, Mary Kay Mirren, we have a wonderful facilitator for all of you at your retreat, where you'll be taking a first look at your own bylaws, which have not been amended, by the way, since 2013. So they're certainly due your look and your review. So you certainly have that to look ahead to in the month of September. Lastly, on the governance front, we do know from NETCHI, the New England Commission of Higher Education, remember they issued us a notice of concern around governance. They will come for a visit in March. So we will need to prepare a report. That report will ultimately come in front of the full board for your endorsement. Again, there's a lot of transparency with this work. And again, we have a lot of successes to point NETCHI towards. One, we brought in a consultant. Two, that consultant made a number of very constructive recommendations. Three, you voted to endorse those recommendations and brought in a new format. So again, we'll have a lot to show when NETCHI comes back around. And again, I'm happy to take questions at the conclusion of this. On the personnel update, just wanted to note, in your packet, again, there's a lot of information. You'll see essentially what we share is a quarterly report on all the hirings, all the separations, retirement. Just a few things to point out. Biggest thing to take away is, by and large, the comings and goings are on the part-time side. We do have a significant number of part-time employees, tutors, peer mentors, part-time faculty, clinical instructors. So you'll see there's a lot of in and out of that type of employee. There are also a set of retirements that did take an effect. And again, please know, even though there are some built into contracts and our non-unit handbook for exempt employees, like a year, if you give a year advance notice on retirement, there is some incentives that are built in. But a retirement is never set in stone until that time comes and the person says, I'll take it. Sometimes the practice is, I'll put a placeholder in, I'm not sure if I'm going to retire. And so employees always have the ability to rescind that. So again, we like you to know we're the people that did actually follow through on that retirement piece. I guess the last thing is there certainly are some full-time faculty hiring that you'll still see in there, notwithstanding the conversation we had about programs and enrollment and teaching loads. We know we still need to hire faculty in some of our STEM areas. You'll see mechanical engineering, technology, chemistry, nursing as well. These are programs where you have to have the lift from a full-time faculty position. So we will still find one way or the other to invest in some of those lines, and you'll see those noted in your personnel report. There have also been some promotions. On this call is our controller and now Assistant Vice President of Administration, John Tudrin. John's overseeing all of human resources, so pleased to have him earning that promotion. Also not available with us tonight, she's a little under the weather, but Mary Kozlowskis, who's our CIO, has been promoted from Assistant Vice President to Vice President. There's just a tremendous amount of backbone that comes from all things IT. So Mary has always been a member of cabinet, but it's good to give her that promotion to really recognize her with her peers. And finally, a permanent appointment. So Gladys Franco, who's on this, who has been holding down the fort as Assistant Vice President of Workforce Development for a year. Her appointment has been made permanent. Really pleased, Gladys. She has done well to earn that. As is my practice, I put out a very broad survey asking for perspective. Things like her Educators Academy that focuses on para-educators are really signature with the type of work she's been doing in that area of workforce. Really looking forward to good things ahead. So that's a little bit on the personnel front to just point out to all of you. Just one more note to share, and again, happy to take questions about anything or everything from this evening. The School of Health relocation. So again, by way of review, after 5 years, we did it, everybody. We were awarded a major infrastructure award from Dcam, the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, and the Executive Office of Education as part of our $42 million project to pull ourselves out of Building 20 and relocate that very, very precious School of Health. We expect that next week, September 7th, if I'm not mistaken, that through what's called the Design Selection Board, an architect will be selected for the project. Again, a very important, very diligent step in terms of how in the public sphere an architect gets selected for such a large multi-million-dollar project. So we will know next week who our architect will be. And again, really putting nose to the grindstone to work on that process and get that design phase going. Obviously, a lot of engagement with our faculty and with our administrators on where that will head. But again, we are keeping that train moving, everyone, on that project. So that's my update, Madam Chair. It's so good to be back in the flow with trustee meetings. And again, looking for a very, very constructive year ahead. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I think this was a very fruitful meeting, very informational. So if anyone else has any questions before we move on. Okay. Do we have any old business? Any new business? Okay, that will conclude our meeting. Our next meeting will be Monday, November 7th at 5 p.m. Annette, can you take the roll call?
Yes, Mary Kay Buren,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Tanya Butler Perez, Gladys Garcia Figueroa,
Yes.
William Johnson, Elizabeth Esposito.
Yes.
Thank you all.